Welcome to Opera Talk with Portland Opera, the podcast where we explore the stories, music, and the artists that bring opera to life. Prepare to step into the haunting world of The Shining. Portland Opera's upcoming production brings Stephen King's iconic horror novel to the operatic stage. And in this special episode of Opera Talk, we take you behind the scenes. Recorded live at the meet and greet with the cast and creative team, this conversation offers a first look at the artistic vision, musical challenges, and spine-tingling moments that make this production unforgettable. Hear from the performers, creative minds, and production team as they share their insights and experiences in bringing this psychological thriller to life. Don't miss this chilling and compelling episode. I'll do this again. Good evening and good afternoon. I am Alfrelyn Roberts, and I am the Director of Artistic Planning and Operations. And you are a part of a live Opera Talk. So I want to thank you so very much for coming. And I'm so excited that we are here with our cast and creatives, and we are going to have just an incredible time talking about this this production, as well as the lives of these wonderful people. So let's start with just simple introductions. We'll start with our conductor and interim music director, Damien Jeter.
Hi, I'm Damien Jeter. What else?
Who you are and what you are to the production.
Oh, I'm conducting, and I'm the interim music director and artistic advisor here at Portland Opera.
I am still Erin Neff, director of the production. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Quentin Gardner. I'm portraying the role of Dick Halloran in this production.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nathan Granner. I'm playing Ullman and also Grady. So I play like a real-life person who manages the hotel and one of the ghosts of the hotel. It's really cool to play these two parts of a normal person and then a crazy one.
Hi, my name is Flashy Noe, and I'm playing Danny.
Hi, my name is Robert Wesley Mason, and I'll be playing the part of Jack Torrance.
Hello, I am Rebecca Krinsky-Cox, and I am Wendy Torrance, or as my parents keep saying when they tell other friends, it's the Shelley Duvall role.
Hi, everyone. I'm Richard Zeller, and I'm playing the part of Mark Torrance, which is Jack's father.
Good afternoon. I'm Seth Hoff. I'm the assistant director and the choreographer.
Hello, I'm Matthew Maizano, and I will be singing the role of Horace Derwent, one of the previous owners of the hotel.
I am Janiyah Black, and I will be playing the role of Mrs. Grady.
Erin Roth Thomas, and I'm playing the role of Enid Massey, the creepy lady in the bathtub.
Hi, my name is Gregory Brumfield. I'll be playing the part of the senator, and I'll be singing bass in the ensemble.
Hi, my name is Henri, and I will be playing the role of the partygoer.
My name is Timothy LaFollette, and I will be playing the man in the dog mask and ensemble baritone in the chorus.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aaron Lang, and I will be portraying the role of Mafia Guy number 1, as well as a tenor in the ensemble.
Hello, my name is Adrian Rosales. I'll be playing Mafia Man number 2, and will be a baritone in the ensemble.
Hello, my name is Brian Langford. I am a baritone in the chorus, and I'm going to be playing the ranger, which is a spoken part only.
I'm Nathaniel Kataska. I'm portraying Bill Watson and Lloyd the bartender.
I'm Claire Forstman. I'm the chorus rehearsal pianist, a member of music staff, and the orchestral keyboardist.
Hello, my name is Nick Fox, and I am portraying the role of chorus master. I play piano for rehearsals, and I'm also the assistant conductor.
Thank you. So we're going to start with Damien. I just want to kind of get, you're all over everywhere, and I love that. What is on the horizon for you?
Well, I have an opera that I wrote, my fourth opera actually, called Loving versus Virginia, which is premiering in April at Virginia Opera, commissioned with Virginia Opera and Richmond Symphony. And I am writing a piano concerto. I'm scared. Yeah, lots of commissions coming down the pipe, so that's good.
How did you approach your work in this particular piece, and how is it different from the pieces that you've done in the past?
Oh, this score is hard. And my approach was, I'm not a fan of listening to different interpretations because I don't want that to influence my own. But in this case, because it is, we have video evidence. I did watch the video a few times just to kind of get the lay of the land, and I noticed a few bars were repeated, and like there were some things that were taken a little bit slower, and it's all for dramatic reasons. So I didn't want to come in unprepared, and in that sense. But after I got a good sense of that, I tried to sort of tune all of that stuff out, and I approach it just like any other score. At the piano, I play very bad piano, but it's enough to get me to a place where I learn the score enough, and and I prefer to just use the full score. I don't usually look at PVs, but that's just how I do it.
Thank you. This next question is for Nathan. You did you premiere at Opera Parallel? Was that a premiere for you?
It was the premiere of this. Thank you, I was not in the original premiere, which was 2015 at Minnesota Opera. But this production that we are seeing now, which has a reduced orchestra, a little bit of rewrites, and also, of course, a fantastic staging element and costumes and the makeup and the hair and all the projections. I was in that original one, but as a different character.
Right, and that's where I was going.
Yes.
That's exactly where I was going. First of all, welcome back to Portland.
Thank you.
He was in Central Park 5.
I was in Central Park 5 before this as Corey Wise. Thank you. And we're actually reprising this production that we did here in Detroit in May. So I'm super, super excited to be having this kind of open the second part of this 24-25 season, and also having and closing out a Portland Opera production in Detroit as well. So I'm like, go Portland.
Yeah. So my question is.
Oh, yes. What is your question?
My question is, since you did a different role.
Yes.
Lloyd the bartender role.
Right.
And how did you approach this one that's different? I mean, obviously they're two different people and two different people.
Right.
How did you approach it?
Some of these roles are dual roles. They don't really have a connection to the other person. So like Ullman and Grady are not diametrically opposed but connected, and neither do I think that Lloyd and Bill Walton were connected. And it's very interesting because I am Nathan, and this gentleman, this young man here, is Nathaniel. So so at least there's a little bit, and it's a legacy. Yes, I did. The Waltons, Watson, whatever, So, but approaching these roles again, scores like this are new opera. It's something I do specialize in, but it is, you're working on a different scale. You have different rhythms, different pitches, different tonal structures that you're really looking at in modern contemporary opera. So as opposed to a Verdi piece where, there's a 5 and there's a 1 and then you do all this stuff in between, this is like there's a 9th, 13th chord and a 6/8 measure on top of a 5/8, and then you do a 2/4. So there's a little more complexity, and it does reflect our life, right? Our lives today, as opposed to the 1800s, are a little more complex. I'll just say. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm gonna go back here to the ensembles and our folks that have special chorus parts or special bit parts here. Just a quick question: how was it? How was learning this music for you all?
Oh, well, I started working on the music several months ago, probably in early November, with a local pianist here, Evan Paul. He coached me on my role, and I recorded it and went home and listened to it and really got the intervals down. Like Nathaniel said, it is difficult music, but I think the audiences will enjoy it. You have to just kind of lay back and let the music overwhelm you, but it's very beautiful. And a bit of it is tonal, so I think you'll enjoy that. And it's been such a pleasure to be in this show. I'm having a good time. You want to talk?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that way?
Yes, please, that way.
Okay.
Just something I would add on to that is I personally had to take a lot of time with it and slow down and not be embarrassed to sit at a piano and play these really thick chords that you're like, where's my note in this? And my note might not even be provided in this, and just hammering that away 10 times in a row of just, this is my pitch, it can this stuff. Just really taking it apart slowly, and then adding more and more to it as we got into rehearsals, and finally going like, oh, this is what it all sounds like together. This is chaotic. That was the big thing for me, just slowing down.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I think it was really, really awesome sitting down and listening, first hearing the music and then eventually singing it in rehearsal. I decided to take a little bit less of a classical approach in order to memorize this music fast. I decided to kind of use my experience in jazz music and the kind of hearing these small notes that are, minor seconds and 13th chords, and just hear these music theory things that you hear in other genres, and then you kind of connect it to what's happening in the story, and then it all begins to mold and make sense. And then Nick Fox here, our chorus master, is so brilliant. Truly. This idea that music, it truly becomes music once it's taken off the page and we start to live it and breathe it, and the way that he shapes it and forms it and tells stories around how we can do so has been really, really magical. And so I think that during the learning process, it speeds up faster once you add this emotion and this story underneath, this subtext underneath the actual thing that's happening. And so it's been a really, really exciting journey thus far.
Hi. I just wanted to add that this kind of music is really my favorite kind of music to work on. I enjoy finding patterns in really difficult things like this. And when you first get it, it is really overwhelming. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to learn this? But one thing I always do is I take a step back and I remind myself that it can only be one way. Once you find it that it is that one way and you ingrain it in yourself, and then you kind of get to a level of familiarity where you are not going to be in a position to be like, oh no, I'm going to make this mistake here or there. It kind of becomes muscle memory, but mental memory. And something I do, I like to, when I can, as someone mentioned, there's all kinds of harmonies in this, and Nathan was saying that, there's all kinds of harmonies in this score. Just chords built on top of other chords. It's kind of hard to analyze it. I like to analyze it where I can, but I like to draw colored boxes around weak beats, find places where I'm going to be able to pick up a pitch that I'll need later from either someone else singing it or someone else in the orchestra. And it becomes a very fun and interactive learning experience for me. My scores look like coloring books, but that's how I do it. And it looks like madness, but it's a ton of fun. And it's something you really can't find anywhere else in the repertoire except in music that is like this. So, yeah.
I'll try to add something a little different than the others, but this is my 23rd season in the Portland Opera, in the chorus. And every time we do a new Traviata or Carmen or, all the chestnuts that we love, this one's not dialed in, folks. This is something that, I can't go from my past, And what I love, it's so refreshing to not feel like, oh, I got this. Because it's going to be so much more rewarding. So I'm very excited for this.
We are excited for you all to be here, and thank you so very much for saying yes. So, to talk about the brilliance of the Nicholas Fox, one of the questions that I have, and I have to admit, I came to a rehearsal, that must have been a couple of weeks ago. And I was so struck by the fact that, like Henri said, the music, you do have to find it where it pops off the page, and you have to find the beauty of it outside of the notes that are on there. Oops, I'll do this. And one of the things that I found really wonderful about this is that it's not really singing, right? You're more sound effect-ish. If I tell you, I was sitting there like, oh my God, I can hear the screams. I mean, it was just beautiful. And so I just have to commend you. You have done such a wonderful job looking at this music and making it suspenseful for all of us. It is going to be, you're going to really, really enjoy the chorus in this. So wanted to just ask the question, how did you go about preparing this particular score? Probably the same way you do all of them.
Oh my God. No, I was I was trying to do the Jeopardy music. I did Mission Impossible. That's in 4/4. I mean, this is. I've done much more difficult music. Like I've worked on extremely dense types of modern music. So this on the spectrum of difficulty was maybe a 6 or a 7. It wasn't a 10. So therefore, it was just trying to get the chorus members to chill out. to you're not going to learn it if you're all tense and nervous. Get away from the mental paradigm that it's difficult. It is difficult, but stop going into it thinking it's difficult. The only way to learn something like this, which is difficult, is to these thick dissonant chords, is muscle memory and repetition. It's like going to the gym and you think you can't run 10 miles, and then after a couple months, when you've worked up enough, you start to do it. When you repeat anything in life that you repeat enough, you will master. Basically, you will either master or you'll like it, or both. Yeah. So it's just patience. No, if there's frustration, say chill the blank down, and we're just going to repeat it again, and it's okay if you don't get just repetition. Same thing in classical, classic repertoire. If you're not getting it right, you just repeat it better until you get it. So it's just repetition, and get away from the paradigm that it's difficult. So yeah, it's difficult, and so what? Just let's move on from that and get it. Yeah.
Yay. Thank you. So now I'm going to come over and talk with some of our other characters. Rebecca, you are a new mom. Congratulations. So, obviously, in this particular production, your main job is to protect your child, right? How did now becoming this new mom, how did that kind of influence your character development in this?
Totally. So I was saying to my colleagues this morning that I've played several mother roles before, but this is the first one since having actually become a real life mother. I have an 8-month-old now, 8.5. And I mean, everything that they say is true. You know, like I would die for you. I would literally do everything. So I can absolutely see, Wendy's motivation to everything she does is for her family. So it's really special. I mean, of course, a 5-year-old and an 8-month-old are quite different, but I can absolutely imagine in just a few short years that we'll be here before I know it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Let me just say this. Your audition was amazing.
Thank you.
And one of the things that really struck me about your audition was the passion in your voice, and there was just a little bit of cut that it was just central. And I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you.
It's beautiful, but then it has this timbre that really does cut. It is a beautiful instrument, and you will absolutely love it.
Thank you. I will add to that that audition, I either 4 or 5 months pregnant. Yeah, and I wasn't telling anybody. And in fact, I was just starting to show, and I said to my pianist and my good friend, I was like, you can't really tell, right? And he was like, But I wasn't public with the pregnancy, and so that was one of my first. It might have been my first audition, that I sang pregnant, and so that extra little something might have just been the baby.
I was gonna say, but you said it first. So, Flash, you are our Danny. We are so excited for you to be here as well. Now tell me, is this your first production?
Yes, it is.
Is this your first opera or first production, period?
First production.
Yes!
Ever.
Well, now, you tell me, how was it? How has this production, this process, I know it's only been a couple of days, how has the process been?
It is really fun, and learning it the opera was kind of difficult, but you just have to do it chunks at a time, and then you'll memorize it eventually. And so, and the staging is fun, learning where to stand and how to do it, and yeah.
Thank you so very much.
No.
We're excited for you to be here. I don't know. Who? It's your dad? Yeah. Yeah. His dad. Yes. So we have a budding musician here. Yes, love that. Richard, another one who just when you came to sing for me, it was, I was just like, oh my God, there's so much talent in this city. What is going on? So I'm just so excited that you said yes too. You also are working with Arpora, which I am very excited about, and I just want to thank you for that as well. The question that I have for you is, tell us about your journey in opera.
How many hours do we have? So, I'm from Portland. This is home. I grew up here. I was born in Kansas to Oregonian parents, I like to say, but grew up my life here. And then we moved back after a number of years in New York, where I got to a career where I could just base myself here. So my journey in opera has been, I never planned to be an opera singer. I grew up thinking I'd be a teacher like my parents. And but then as my voice developed, voice teacher said, this might be your highest skill is to pursue classical music instead of the other genres I was singing in with my family family traveled as a gospel group for 11 years. We did lots of performing. I think the busiest, it was like 85 concerts in 1 year. So I just grew up singing. That's what we did, right? But I always loved orchestra. In Flash, I played the bass in orchestra just like you, and really loved that. But then really my favorite thing was to sing. So went to graduate school after doing a music ed degree in undergrad at George Fox, which is close by here. And then I went on to graduate school and then was accepted into the Young Artist program at the Met. Again, not planning to be an opera singer, but that's what happened. And then had a kind of a lengthy career. Mostly now I'm teaching. I teach in a private studio and also at Portland State. And so we live here. I'm so glad to be back singing with my home company. This is, I don't know, 10 or 11 or 12 different roles with the company. So I feel I haven't quite made it as much as some of you choristers, but it is nice to be part of that. So I'm excited to be here. And I would say, if you don't mind me sharing, my character, Mark, is he's pretty a nasty guy. I think he is the father of Jack, and he comes back in these visions, becomes kind of like a ghost who's haunting him and saying, hey, he is abusive. It's really a kind of a nasty part to play. He comes in and shames Jack and says, so Jack grew up with this character being abusive, beats him with a cane to beat his mother and his older brothers too. And so Jack is really wanting not to be like his father, but unfortunately, because of the influence of the Overlook Hotel, does become just like his dad. So I have a part where I come in and you can just see the negative part, the negative emotions. But it's a great part to play. I get to be a villain. So there you go.
That's always cool. Let's stay on that same vein. Dr. West. Dr. West has in his dissertation did a dissertation on the character of Jack. So we're going to be talking about that in the podcast pretty soon. So I'm very excited about that. But tell me, what did your research find? What did you find in your research?
So I was very fortunate to do my DMA at the University of Michigan, where I actually was already an alum when 2020 hit, and decided to go back to school to pursue my doctorate while our industry recovered, all our industries recovered. And what's really great about how we do doctorates there is that you do dissertation focus of like 3 dissertation recitals, and you can replace one of those with a character analysis of a full-length role. And so I've specialized in 21st century American opera now for about 20 years. And Jack was an opportunity to lean into writing not just about the cultural phenomenon that The Shining had been for all these years because of Kubrick's film and the success of The King before that, but also where it was within this wonderful movement of American contemporary opera that we've been going on very strong for more than 20 years, but has really been picking up stride, especially in the last 15 to 20. And so it all came together with this opportunity to step in for this production, actually premiering with Nathan in San Francisco. And in my research, in order to really bring out things about Jack, what you discover is really fascinating in the way that certain things stick with culture. Just as recently as a few years ago, there's a Super Bowl commercial with Bryan Cranston doing a whole parody of the axe scene for, I think it was Mountain Dew. I'm pretty sure it's a Mountain Dew commercial. I mean, this is a film from 1980, I believe, originally. I mean, it's now been 90, 2020. Oh gosh, 45 years that it's been going strong, and everybody knows about this piece from a cultural standpoint. What's fascinating is that we think we know The Shining, but we really don't, because as Richard was getting to, the book is very different from the film, and Richard and Stephen King didn't really favor the film too much, although at times he said he felt like he gave Stanley Kubrick a live grenade and he heroically threw his body on top of it, just because of all the layers and difficulty that comes with the piece. And through tracking all of that and seeing where it was and where it lined up, it's fascinating to me how the film, really what you have in the film is in Jack Torrance is one of the greatest villains of all time in horror films. But in the book, he is not a villain at all. In fact, he is a deeply complex, tortured individual who's imperfect, who's dealing with addiction, who's dealing with coming from a traumatic upbringing, and the struggle of inheriting that kind of violence in a domestic situation. And I'm sure many of us have maybe not come up against the exact same circumstances, but sometimes you find yourself, well, I'm never going to be like so-and-so. I'm going to change. But then maybe one day you're in a situation and you hit, oh my gosh, I'm doing exactly what I said I'd never do, So it's what's really beautiful about this opera and what Mark and what Paul have achieved in adapting it is really humanizing that journey of Jack and really bringing this opportunity forward of this pop culture piece to introduce it to people about a side of it that they don't really know as well as they thought. And man, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah.
So this question is for Aaron, our director, and Seth. So I'm coming back down that way. How did you approach it? This is your second. This is your first, right? Because you worked with Brian.
Yes, and this is a remount of an original production concept and set design by Brian Stauffenbiel of Opera Parallel in San Francisco, amazing company. And I did not work on the production, but he brought me in saying, you're probably going to be remounting this. Yes. And in discussion with him, he said, once you do a piece, it should not ever be just set in stone. It should constantly be evolving, particularly a piece that is new. It's 10 years old. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. It's really easy to get stuck in cliches. This book was written in the 70s. So one of the things that I'm currently struggling with is how Wendy is portrayed as a woman and the choices that she had and how to make that important, her experience as written in the 70s, yet how it is a timeless struggle. I come from a place where these people have worked their entire lives to get here to this moment. They know how to sing very well. They know stagecraft. And my job in some ways is to interrupt that. I want to get them off their center. I want them to really think about every line, every motivation, how that works with what the composer wrote, his notes, his crescendo, his dynamics, whether it's soft or loud, and why he put that in there, and what does that mean to you. And don't worry about yourself sounding pretty, or the pressure to be perfect is so tremendous, right? You're only as good as your last note. And I don't really care about that. I really care about people landing in their role in such an amazingly sincere place that I want you to walk away not even knowing what you just saw. Was it an opera? Was it a play? And this is very much written as a play. There are very few arias. It's quite through composed in many ways. So it's really fun for the cast and a big challenge to try and keep it constantly real and deal with the bigger themes too.
Thank you. Seth, similar question. Obviously, you'll be working with movement and things. How are you going to approach this?
Oof. Yes, in terms of the movement, and I'm still grasping feeling for things, Aaron's giving me a lot of support, and I feel like that's kind of my role, is to support the characters, the music, and the entire storytelling. So still trying to figure things out, because how do these characters who are not living anymore and have particular, I was also talking to Christine about costumes, and so they might have a particular iconic physical appearance. How will that translate into movement? We shall see. Yeah. So, and how do you make it scary, or does that have to be? So lots of things to think about. Yes, thank you.
We'll be waiting. I want to get to our pora. So we have 5, and they have been with us since August, September. Wanted to just ask, how did you prepare your roles, and how is this experience different from the others? And you're getting ready to do Falstaff as well. So, I mean, how is everything coming with your preparation?
Do you want to go first? You go.
I always like to go first. Yeah, you're welcome. So as they've mentioned before, it is very difficult music. It's modern opera, and so there's not a lot of tunes you're going to walk away snapping your finger and humming when you leave. But I think that's part of the genius of the show, is that it is meant to disturb you, and it's meant to kind of make you think and feel certain things. The characters that most of us are playing, Nathaniel has a little bit larger of a role, but the characters that most of us are playing are ghosts. And so they are in many ways kind of frozen in their own time, or in the moment of their death and what was happening with them when they died. So we don't really interact with each other as much. We're just all kind of there, reliving our moment of our passing. And so to prepare for that, was that the original question? I kind of went off on a tangent. To prepare for that, there's, you obviously just memorize all the notes and rhythms, but for me, it kind of helps to put myself back in, I think that I'm still here, and I'm trying to, it's kind of hard to explain, but I think that I'm still here, and I'm reliving this, and how many times has my character walked the halls of this hotel and sang or said these same words over and over again. So it becomes kind of like this haunting thing, if that makes any sense. Yeah? Anybody?
You go.
So playing Mrs. Grady, I think, was really like a soprano's dream, because all I do is scream high D's. So it's great. But as far as the chorus music, that was a little different. And we had a great chorus master, Nick Fox. So he was great in helping us learn that. And like he said, it's just about repetition, because you can't really rely on the orchestra or anybody else for your notes. So yeah, that's it.
Same as everybody's been saying, learning the role, it is just a lot of repetition and practice to be able to execute it any sort of correct way. With my role in particular, it's so Derwent is how do I describe him? I don't know, sleazy Bacchus maybe. He just wants to he's sleazy Bacchus. I mean, yeah. To give you a little more, he's not really crazy prominent in the movie or in the book. He's more mentioned in the book, and in the movie, he is the gentleman who is receiving fellatio from the in the movie it's a bear masked person, in the book, and in this it's dog. So I'm really interested to see how that's gonna play out on stage. Because that is a very iconic moment in the movie, and it's not something I've never done on stage in a role.
And you probably won't in this one either.
No, but the moment is definitely hinted at. The moment is hinted at, I think. So he's just a very hedonistic, debauched human to spirit, and that's going to be fun. Yeah.
I'm going to run over here to the other 2 resident artists. Nathaniel.
I think the interesting thing about this piece is when you kind of look out of it's not actually that different from learning any other role. If anything, I think that the music itself just sort of shows what opera is all about, and the drama of it all is just shown in a different way. But the process itself, for me at least, has been the same as I would prepare any other role of learning the notes and rhythms, learning how your part fits within not only the orchestra, but the entire larger part of the ensemble. And then from there, your character of your motivations and why. I think the only difference is being able to use the subject matter in something more modern than something older. But I think it really still kind of talks about the human experience and what happens after and what is beyond just what we're observing right now.
One of my favorite things about preparing the score are the moments in the orchestra that in piano reduction become truly unplayable. They're just too dense to render on the piano. When you're practicing a solo piano piece, it is one of the highest priorities to do exactly what is on the page to the best of your abilities. And there are free moments in this opera, several moments in this opera where you are free of that, and you get to sort of Jackson Pollock yourself at the keyboard, and that is so much fun. So, yeah.
Thank you. So we have so much talent in the city of Portland that it was very, very important. I'm standing back here because it's these folks, and I am just so excited to be able to highlight local talent because we have great opera singers right here. And so it's going to be very important to just continue to do that. But we have one that is actually a part of our cast, Quentin Gardner, who is opera royalty as far as I'm concerned. His father was Jake Gardner, the famous bass baritone, and his mother, every time I see her, I do this. Cynthia Clary, who was in the Glyndebourne Porgy and Bess, the television film. Why couldn't I think of it? The film Porgy and Bess. So you live in two very distinct worlds. I call you a unicorn of some sort. You're heavy metal, and then you're also opera. The two probably will never meet, but who knows? The spirit, of course, but I'm saying the music. That's what I'm talking about. Right, exactly. Tell us how you navigate those two worlds.
Thanks. So, I found heavy metal when my parents and I moved to Germany in 1989. My dad took a job with Cologne Opera House, and I was feeling very fish out of water, racially ambiguous 7-year-old in West Germany a month before the fall of the Berlin Wall. But we had some out of guilt. I think my parents made sure we had cable so I could have something that was in English, in which there was some stuff on some Dutch channels that had some English stuff with subtitles. But MTV was sort of my babysitter for a while. I really fell in love with the theatrics of acts like Alice Cooper and Metallica and stuff like that, and it was a pretty a clear bridge to me from sort of, because I had spent all my young life growing up in opera houses, in rehearsal spaces, watching the same, I must have seen Carmen 150 times or something like that. I've seen Don Giovanni like 50 times, so, it was also kind of everywhere I went after Germany and in Germany, it was I always found other people who enjoyed the same kind of music, and I found that there was sort of this international community of people who all enjoyed this music that most other people do not or do not understand. And I moved to Portland in 2006 to play in a metal band. I was in a death metal band called Only Zools. Very aggressive, very fast, a lot of screaming and growling. But even at that point, I still, just because of the nature of my background and before I started really developing those kinds of vocalizing skills, I went to my dad and I said, hey, would you mind just like kind of checking me out and make sure I'm not doing something that's going to destroy my voice. So I sort of had this classical fundamentals to build on. And when I started performing out here in like 2008, I kept having folks coming up to me and saying, how do you do that? How do you scream for an hour and then still talk afterwards? And I say, oh, it's classical fundamentals. And they kept saying, can you teach me? And I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm not, I can't really teach you. And then enough people asked to where I was like, okay, sure, like let's give it a shot. And even when I was funnily enough, you probably never listened to my old band Only Zool on Spotify or anything like that. But I do sing operatically within the confines of that as well. So there are actually many combinations of opera and or operatic type stuff and heavy metal that happen. But for me, it was kind of this like other people showing an interest in the discipline of it, and then through working with other singers and then going myself back to taking instruction. And just when the pandemic hit, my dad and I would get together every week on Zoom and learn voice. And at some point, there came a shift to where when you're a student of something, I think there's the period at which you're learning, and it's this other thing. Like you're learning something that's outside you, and at some point, that thing becomes part of who you are. And when we got to a certain point in our work together where he had sort of said to me, I feel like if you're interested in doing this, then you should go out and do something, go work with some other folks, and he had some people he wanted me to meet. And after that, he very shortly, unfortunately, after we concluded our work together, he became ill, and then he passed only a few months after that. And so I had never ever expected to sort of carry the mantle of my parents' legacy. Was sort of something I'd sort of very specifically avoided. But to have his blessing to go out and to attempt to do this kind of work was meant a lot to me, and having my mother come to Portland, because I have a soon-to-be 7-year-old, so coming to be near the granddaughter, but then also having the added bonus of being able to watch me venture into a musical field that she actually likes and enjoys to listen to, as opposed to just tolerates, has been really wonderful. And I studied theater, like straight theater. I was an actor. I was never going to sing. I was never, like, similar to what Richard was saying. Like, it was never the plan to be an opera singer. But it's such a different kind of discipline, and you discover, similarly to, I think, in things like heavy metal, like there are these experiences that you can have within these types of music that if you're not involved with it, if you don't have what's the word I'm looking for, point of reference, you can't really see it, like you can't really experience it. And so to have been able to, watching my parents growing up my whole life, like opera's great, I always appreciated it, but I never really got it, I don't think. And growing up, my parents traveled, they did the Peter Brook Carmen tour, La Tragédie de Carmen back in the day. And I used to, this guy, James Hoback, this tenor, used to do the most beautiful La Fleur, Don José aria. And doing my first fully staged opera was Carmen with Portland Opera. And Matt Pierce was the tenor. And my first time standing in the wings during dress rehearsal and hearing him sing that aria, and I was like, oh my God, I get it. And it was this total out of body experience, and this sort of feeling of like coming a whole like 360 journey. So it's been a totally life-changing experience to be and to continue to sort of ride this line between the heavy metal world and the opera world. I have my own project. We perform, we have music videos, we record, and all that stuff. But so it's wonderful to finally feel like I can be fully myself on both sides of that spectrum.
Thank you to everyone. And you can hear more about Quentin and Henri and Gregory on the latest episode of Opera Talk. And then we'll be doing some more Opera Talks with Alexis and her team and some other folks. So we're going to use about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Any questions do you have? Ooh.
While you're thinking of a question, can I just say one thing?
Sure.
While you're all thinking of a question, we've talked a lot about the difficulty and the challenge of this music. But The Shining, just like a lot of modern contemporary music today, has become part of our musical sound. It used to be that when you listen to modern music, Alban Berg and whatever, that it was like, what is that noise? This opera is very far different from that. There are dissonances and there are chords and changes and stuff like that shriek at you in some respects, but it is all part of the story. And there are very, very beautiful moments in this. So this isn't just a challenging piece for us, it's also a beautiful piece to perform with a great story. Atmospheric.
Describes emotions that are human emotions, and it's very, very effective at that. No, that's fine. That's what I wanted to add. But
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's all right. It's psychological. I mean, it's like any great film score you've ever heard. And that same, it's like any great film score you've heard in that regard. But I mean, it's an opera score. It's first and foremost. It's not that, but it's nothing that you all haven't heard, honestly, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
I feel like with my composer hat on, I need to defend new music in a way. Because do not be afraid of new music. A lot of the music that's written today, this piece is very much tonal. There are actually very few pieces that are atonal. And I don't want you to be afraid of other pieces of new music. If Portland Opera puts on another new opera, you should also welcome that, because a lot of the music that's written today is very lyrical and tonal and all these very good things like that too. So yes, The Shining is all of those things that people said, but also I don't want people to walk away thinking other new musics are, bleep blop and yeah, exactly. So, okay.
Wonderful. What's the question? Yes.
When you're doing a genre piece like this, you have a directorial choice about just how high you're going to amp up the horror factor. And if you say on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is an episode of The Munsters, 10 is the shower scene in Psycho, where does your production land?
I'm hoping for the moments that are scary They're up there, but I think they're going to be scary in different ways. I would say that part of the work I need to do is make it more scary, and it's very tricky. It's definitely very tricky. So I would love to have a conversation with you after the show, and you can tell me.
Are there any other questions? Statement.
I have a statement that I totally left out an entire design category of the show, which is sound, because we normally don't do that. I'm just going to yell so it can record me. But this opera has a full-on sound score. In addition to the music that the orchestra is playing, because there are atmospheric effects that contribute to that feeling. And it is not usual for us to do this. It is not usual for us to employ a sound designer and a sound engineer and have some reinforced sound, because the 3 children in the production need to be reinforced. And so this is really just an example of what new opera looks like, because we do employ every single element that is available to us in terms of stagecraft.
Any other questions? Yes.
Some of you have talked about how kind of the connection between how music has gotten more complex as our worlds have become more complex, not only our inner worlds, but also our collective world. Global, we are facing different challenges, and it kind of makes me wonder just what are some of the things, like how do you connect some of this music in terms of like how you interact with it as you're learning it, how you sing through it, how it's going to be presented to the audience, what kind of moments in the real world, complex moments, are you connecting this music to directly in your work?
I'm going to ask Rebecca to answer that question for us.
Well, the fun thing about doing opera in English is that it's very quotable. You'd be surprised how many times I say things from this opera to my husband, who has no idea what I'm talking about. But it's also really cool to just play a character who I could totally be. We don't always get that opportunity. And so, yeah, that I can just be a normal person, and I'm not thinking about how I'm going to be sitting on stage in a corset while my servant brings me tea, you know? So that's, yeah, it's a beautiful, very sort of easy introduction to the score in a way that I think can often be a boundary for the performer and the audience alike. So I think it's like that immediate connection, and I hope that we're going to work really hard to be very clear with our diction. So I think that you'll be able to not have to always glance up at the super titles, which are amazing, but it is yet another sort of stepping stone between you, the audience, and the art. And so by removing that, I think it will be an immediate connection. That and the soundscape that we keep talking about, that these amazing colors of the orchestra and the sound effects and the music as it's written. And that I actually was surprised at how hard the score was to learn, because I found it so listenable. I think it's stunning music, very cinematic in a way, like you almost feel like you're in an IMAX movie theater. And so I think upon first listen, I think it's an amazing score, which you also don't always get.
He said it perfectly. I mean, he just said this. Yes, he said it's opera perfectly. Thank you. Are there any other questions? No? I want to mention one other person, Gian Maria, who is our conductor fellow. I don't know if he's here. Okay. All righty. Just wanted to make sure that we mentioned that he is a part of our community as well. Thank you so very much for coming to our live opera talk. This has been wonderful, and thank you all so very much for everything that you're bringing to this production, and I look forward to it every day. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Opera Talk. As always, visit portlandopera.org for tickets and the most up-to-date information about season events and happenings. Remember to subscribe so you never miss a beat and stay connected with all things Portland Opera. Until next time, keep the music in your heart and opera on your mind. We'll see you at the opera.